Hey, everybody. Welcome to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. This is podcast number 2 with live video or video. It won't be live when you see it, obviously. But so we're getting there. We're coming from the Stone Age into the New Age. And we're really glad tonight to have Jeff with us. Jeff has done work for us at SCB for a while and is always chiming in on our Slack chats. And it's good to have him on. Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you got going.
Big Steeler fan, obviously. I've been a Steeler fan my whole life. I was born into it. Got the Steeler Center Instagram account, which has gotten pretty big over the last year. I've been really happy with that. But, yeah, other than that, just guy working my way through college, covering the Steelers, having some fun with it.
Good for you. And the one important question, and I was reminded this from a YouTube viewer this week, he said, didn't you forget something? And I'm like, what? And I forgot to ask last week, what are you drinking? And I think I was just so encapsulated with getting the show going and stuff, I forgot. So I would be remiss if I did not ask, Ian, what are you drinking tonight?
So last week we talked about the big crisis I had, which was that my keg had kicked.
Yes, horrible news.
Yes, horrible news. So I went out and got a new keg. So now I'm drinking a Great Lakes Oktoberfest because when I went to the beer store, the keg of Yuengling Oktoberfest was only like $2 cheaper than the keg of Great Lakes Oktoberfest. I'm like, well, for $2 more, I will buy the much nicer beer. So now I have Great Lakes Oktoberfest on tap.
Good for you. Good for you. Jeff, are you enjoying anything tonight?
I'm not. I definitely should have gotten something prepared, especially while I was at work. I would have picked something up, but no, I got
no worries.
Got a water bottle next to me. That's
no worries. I have I'm going with the Bell's Two-Hearted Light Ale because I'm watching my girlish figure. And don't worry, I've got my big hunk of water here too, so don't feel bad, Jeff.
I'll be more prepared next time.
There you go. Good man.
Is that water or Coors Light? Because they're basically the same thing.
Ouch. Yeah. Well, hey though, I still do also have my bottle of Yuengling Light from last week, so it's empty. But
okay.
Yeah, it's empty, but it's still there. I'm surprised. Anyway, a lot of stuff to talk about with the Steelers tonight, guys. Today was, of course, cut down day. All NFL teams had to be down, 53-man rosters. And as you probably saw on Twitter and Instagram and heard about 8,000 times, the initial 53-man roster is going to change over the next few days. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. And it's true. It will change. And I think when you look at the Steelers' overall roster, there are some real signs of how it's probably going to change. So, Ian, let's just get to surprises. What were some of the surprises for you that immediately caught your eye with what the Steelers did today?
Yeah, I think just from a numbers standpoint, 5 running backs, 8 offensive linemen, 8 defensive linemen, 6 inside linebackers, and only 4 cornerbacks. Like, all of those numbers kind of broke their trends and surprised me. Typically they keep 9 offensive linemen. Typically they keep 6 defensive linemen. And I know with Stephon Tuitt's situation, they probably wanted to keep an extra guy, but 2 extra guys there. Like, what is Henry Mondo doing on this team? It blows my mind. 6 inside linebackers. I'm shocked that both Ulysses Gilbert and Marcus Allen made the team. And just 4 cornerbacks, obviously, in a highly passing league is not going to cut it. I know that Keith Butler said that, now that we've got Bush and Schobert on the inside, we're probably not going to play a lot of true dime. We're going to play a lot of, nickel and try and match up. But I think we also saw, Joe Schobert trying to run with Brashad Perryman a few weeks ago, and that didn't go so well.
No.
So, they can't keep matching inside linebackers on slot receivers. That's not going to go very well. So they need more than 4 cornerbacks on the roster. And really that 4th one in Justin Lane, I'm not very sold on him if he has to actually play in a game other than special teams. So, we'll see where it goes. And the other one was Christian Kuntz making the team as a long snapper. As I mentioned in my game preview for the Carolina game, that there was some salary considerations there too. They gave Cam Canada a 2-year, $2 million deal, basically. Doesn't save them a whole lot of money this year on the salary cap, like $250,000.
Right. Very small.
Next year saves them about $1 million on the cap because Christian Kuntz is on a rookie deal. So, some money considerations there as well. But, kudos to him. I mean, he came to Steelers camp as an undrafted free agent out of Duquesne. He was a local kid from around Pittsburgh, and came as an inside linebacker. Kind of was playing inside linebacker and doing some long snapping on the side, and really over time kind of converted himself into a long snapper. And now he made an NFL roster. So congratulations to him. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of changes over the next, and we do have this extra week here. That in previous years you had a pretty quick turnaround between the end of the preseason and the start of the regular season, whereas now we've got an extra week between, the end of the preseason, the first game in Buffalo. So I'd say definitely they're going to add an offensive lineman, probably a tackle, or at least like a swing tackle guard kind of player, and then also, they may put Stephon Tuitt on IR, but they have to add another cornerback. They cannot go into the season with just 4 cornerbacks on there.
Yeah, and we'll revisit the cornerback and the Tuitt thing here in a minute. Jeff, what were some of the surprises that maybe you saw you didn't see coming when these announcements came down?
The first surprise for me was Rashad Coward. I definitely thought he was going to be on the 53. Especially since there's not a lot of lineman depth that we really have. I really thought the lineman depth, now looking at the 53, is a little bit shaky. So I'm a little confused on the Rashad Coward thing. And obviously one of the first things I noticed was the corners. I mean, you gotta have more corners. And I agree with Ian. I'm not a big Justin Lane guy. I was when we drafted him. I was happy about that pick, but I'm definitely not sold on him getting time. And the Rashad Coward thing was the main one. But Ulysses Gilbert was definitely another one that surprised me. I remember watching him in preseason, just thinking this guy can't really play. I remember he was bouncing off of receivers who were making it was bad. I talked about him a little bit on my other podcast. I'm very surprised he made the team.
Yep.
Henry Mondo was another surprise for me. But definitely the main one that caught my eye was Rashad Coward. I was really surprised that he didn't make the roster. And I feel like Pittsburgh might have something planned for that. I don't know. But having that really shaky depth at offensive line surprised me a lot.
Yeah, I to me, kind of, I guess going along with that was BJ Finney. I was really surprised by that just because it seemed – and I guess this is probably my own fault because I just read into it and I look at, it's Finney. They made sure they picked him up after he got cut loose from Cincinnati, and it just seemed like a fit. And so I was surprised by that. And granted, the number of D linemen they're keeping is surprising, but the Mondo thing, they love him on special teams. He does a lot of dirty work on special teams, but man, I'm telling you, if he has to play significant snaps at defensive line, I got a lot of concerns there. So it's going to be a really interesting couple of days here. And not just with the Steelers, of course, but around the league. When you look at some of the names in some of the positions, I mean, you've got the Detroit Lions, who currently do not have a kicker on their roster. I don't know that I've ever seen that before, where they cut both of their only kickers. Granted, kickers are out there everywhere. I know that, but still, I found it kind of funny. So, as far as guys on this team, Ian, you mentioned the 4 cornerbacks. I mean, to me, that's just like putting the flag up right now. We're going to find a cornerback in the next couple of days. Is that what you're thinking too? Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think so. And there were a handful of veteran corners that got cut around the league that, could potentially get brought in here. I think league-wide, it's going to be interesting. Jason, who runs Over the Cap, had a tweet earlier and basically said that, given the extra week, we saw a lot of teams cut veteran players to try and kind of game the waiver system to get them through waivers, hopefully to either bring them back and, kind of try and protect some of their younger players that they saw as talented, but, they can't sign him to the practice squad till tomorrow. So, maybe tomorrow we see a lot of action when the waiver wire's clear, and then players can also be added to the practice squad, or players can be put on IR. So some other roster spots may open up league wide, and we'll see kind of where the chips fall of who's going to be able to make it through waivers and come back. I thought Jeff's point about Rashad Coward was a really good one, because over the years, it seems like a lot of guys that the Steelers have signed as free agents do make the team. Even guys, going back to like Bryce McCain, who no one thought was going to make the team as a cornerback, made the team and then wound up being a starter because like Antoine Blake sucked. But and a variety of other things happened. There was a couple injuries, but nevertheless, the guys they sign in free agency usually have a pretty good shot to make the roster. I feel like, especially veteran guys they sign. And so I was really surprised by the Coward one too.
Well, yeah, and it's not like he was just. I mean, the guy has starting experience.
Yeah, and I thought he played decently too. Like he wasn't bad.
No.
Yeah, no. He played pretty good.
I agree. I was a little surprised by that, just considering the background that you're talking about. Jeff, are you in the same ballpark? Do you think they're probably gonna in the next day or two say, okay, here we signed this cornerback, and if they do you expect it to be kind of an exclusive nickel type guy?
Definitely. I don't think there's any way they go into the season with 4 corners. I mean, you just can't, especially like Ian said before, you can't have Justin Lean as your 4th corner and your last corner.
Right.
I thought when as soon as I saw that there were 4 corners, I was thinking maybe there would be some kind of trade in the works, because they were interested in Bryce Callahan from the Broncos, and he is really that kind of slot nickel corner guy. So I was thinking maybe they have something in the works for him. Maybe they're looking at someone else who got cut. But no, I definitely don't think there's a way that they don't add another corner. And I think there's going to be multiple changes that are coming. But that corner's got to be – they got to add another corner. They have to.
I totally agree. I think it's coming. Just a reminder, you are listening to the SCB Steelers Podcast, presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida, serving the southern Palm Beach counties and Broward, of course. Commercial, residential, multifamily, or condos, contact DEK Roofing by visiting dekroofing.com today. Tackle. We have problems at the offensive tackle position. Look, Zach Banner, we have no idea what's going on. He's played all of, I think, 12 snaps in the preseason. He was lost for the season last year in the very first game of the year with the ACL injury, and we're really getting limited information. Mike Tomlin said today, I'll be addressing the injuries next week, and so at this point, his normal presser would be next Tuesday, week from today. But Ian, what are they doing at tackle? This is troubling.
I mean, yeah, and let's start with Chuks Okorafor, because he's been bad. He's been just straight up bad at left tackle. And, I remember back when Max Starks was on the team, in the mid-2000s, they tried to play him at right tackle. They tried to move him to left tackle. But they had, like, Marvell Smith at left tackle. And then, they tried to move him to right, and he was not that great. He got beat out by Willie Colon, and then they tried to move him back to left tackle. And I remember Stark saying, like, I'm left-handed, so playing left tackle is a lot more intuitive to me because I'm using my dominant hand to kind of strike first with. And, moving over to right tackle, even though it's where the position's available, is trying to, learn how to right with my non-dominant hand, or use a fork with my or whatever, just trying to do something that's not kind of intuitive like that. And, with Okorafor, I think we saw it this year that he had been playing right tackle for a few years and then got switched over to left. And just that transition is difficult. It's not as easy as people think it is. You have to kind of completely flip everything in your brain. And Ben talked a little bit about last week that Chuks always seemed like he was stepping on the wrong foot at the wrong time. And I think it's that timing thing of when you're used to playing right tackle, your feet get in a pattern, your hands get in a pattern, and, older than my age, but Chuck Noll always talked about like same foot, same shoulder, or same foot, same hand, that kind of thing, that you want to be striking and leaning at the same time. And Chuks look completely off balance. So
he does.
Part of that might be why Dan Moore looks better than him, because Moore played left tackle at Texas A&M, and now they plugged him in at left tackle, and it's still kind of the same motion for him. So honestly, like at this point, I wouldn't be shocked if Dan Moore starts the year at left tackle and they're just like, it can't be worse than what Chooks was. Let's just see what happens. Let the rookie take his lumps, and then and maybe we develop something there, which could, on the flip side, be bad for Moore's confidence if you throw him in too early and he gets beat up a whole bunch. But he got beat up a whole bunch by Alex Highsmith in training camp and then looked really good in games.
Exactly.
So, it could be good experience for him too. We'll see. I mean, they need to sign a tackle though. They can't go into the season with Okorafor, Moore, Banner, and Joe Haig as their tackles. And Haig's like a swing tackle guard kind of guy.
Best.
They can't do that. I mean, my hope is that, like, remember when they signed Flozell Adams and they were like, oh yeah, he's our new tackle.
Yes,
that's gonna be great.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
Let's sign a multi-time Pro Bowler. And I think I tweeted today, like, whatever the tackle equivalent of Joe Hayden getting cut by the Browns was like my hope for today, which I don't think really happened, but you never know.
No, you don't. And you just, I agree with what you're saying. They cannot, it's just like the cornerback situation. They can't go in like this, So Jeff, what have you seen with Okorafor, with Dan Moore? Where do you kind of fall in this situation with these linemen?
I'm definitely not an Okorafor fan. I've really tried to give him a chance.
Yeah,
he's naturally a left tackle. I think he said he's much more comfortable at left tackle. But I think Ian's right. I think he's gotten more used to being at right tackle, and now he's just kind of – he doesn't have his footing right. He doesn't have his striking right. He looks – I think off balance is pretty much the perfect word.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't – he looks very off balance. He looks very uncomfortable. And Dan Moore's been getting better and better. I didn't hear great things about him in the beginning of camp, but as camp went on, he was just getting better and better. And I can't see them going into the season with this tackle group. And I think Dan Moore probably gets the start for week 1. I don't want them to do what Ian was talking about, like throwing him in too early, shaking up his confidence a little bit. That does worry me. But they got to do something, because Okorafor is just not a starting tackle at this point. He's solid depth, but you can't go into the season with him as your starter. I think Moore's going to be the starter, and I really do want to know what's going on with Zach Banner, because I have no idea what's going. I haven't heard anything anywhere. They're not giving any kind of information about him, so I don't know what's up with him. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's dealing with something else. I don't know what's going on with Banner, but they definitely need to add someone to tackle. And I feel like Pittsburgh's kind of had a history of not always having the best tackles, especially in the past, like in the Super Bowl teams of like the mid-2000s and like the 2009 Super Bowl team. There wasn't great tackles on that team either. So I don't know how concerned they are with it, but this tackle group is not doing it for me. They gotta add someone else. Like Ian said, if there was a Joe Hayden like cut for a tackle, that would be awesome. Pittsburgh would be all over that. But they definitely got to. I think it's very comparable to the corner situation. They got to add somebody.
Would you, if a team offered up a guy for maybe a second round pick, would you do it, even though we're already short some picks for next year?
Yeah, they're short on the mid-round picks. I guess it would depend on who the guy is and what the age is. But I would definitely, if it was a proven starting caliber tackle who's still in his 20s, I would consider it definitely.
Okay, all right, Ian. I ask you the same thing. What kind of deal would you make there to get a quality left tackle?
Maybe not a second, but a third. I'd consider. One of the things they've always done in the past is they've kind of seen, where they think they're going to get comp picks and been like, okay, we're willing to trade a pick in that round,
right? If
we think we're going to get a comp pick there, because we'll still be in that round just a couple picks later. So maybe not a second, maybe a third. I do agree with what Jeff said, though, that you can't, this tackle group is not cutting it. I think the one big difference between those mid-2000s teams and this team now is that the quarterback you had behind them then was a little more fleet of foot. You know,
just a little bit.
Ben still got it a little bit. Like he showed some flashes.
It's in bursts.
Game,
yeah,
but he's not going to be able to run for his life every play and make magic happen all the time. You know, especially we saw last year, like he took that bad hit to his knee against Dallas and just wasn't the same quarterback afterwards because he just couldn't move back there.
Out of me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Everyone wants to talk about like, well, the line did get worse as the season went on last year too, but like no one talks about Ben suffering that knee injury, like really hampering his play and basically making him a statue back there. And he's like, well, the line's a sieve and I'm going to get killed back here. So I just have to get the ball out as quick as I can now because I can't move either. So, you know, it's one of those things where Ben can't move as well anymore. So you got to find a way to protect him.
Yeah. And I think you crunched all the numbers on that, where Ben's stats were prior to the Dallas game and then where his stats were after the game. And there was a very significant drop off, if I remember correctly.
There was a drop off. Yeah.
I
don't have them right in front of me. But
no. And I was not indicating that you should, although next time I expect quarterback situation, it really did settle itself out once Josh Dobbs left the game with what's being reported as turf toe, and they said he's did he go on IR or did he go on the waived IR?
IR. They just
I think he went on IR,
yeah.
Okay. So that left it, you know, Ben, Mason, and of course Haskins. Jeff, are you happy with that, considering everything you saw this preseason?
I feel like I would have been more okay with it like a week or two ago at this time. But after seeing Haskins, the way he played in that Panthers game, that was bad.
Yep.
That was really bad. I mean, going into the like I said, about a week or two ago, you know, maybe I would be okay with Haskins back there. But I don't know. I'm worried about – I mean, if Ben stays healthy, we don't got to worry about it. But
right.
It's definitely not the most encouraging thing, especially after the way Haskins played, because I haven't been a Rudolph guy since 2019. Ever since I saw him get benched in a game against the Bengals, who were the worst team in the league at the time, that was it for me. I was done with Rudolph right there. But
consider yourself in a rare air, because most people were done with him before he ever took the field.
No, I gave him a chance, man.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I wanted to see what he can do, and it was encouraging at first. You know, he was when Ben went down, he played a couple of good games. But I mean, when you get benched against the Bengals, where did they finish 2-14 that year?
Yeah, I think so.
Like 3-13. Yeah. I mean, when you get benched against them, that's really bad. I remember watching that game. That was
right with you. I'm right with you.
And it was the right call too to bench him because he was playing horrible.
Right, it was bad.
It was horrible. And then
is that the one that
came in? And like first play, he threw that touchdown to Washington.
I
was like, oh my God, finally someone who can throw the ball. But yeah, no, it's not encouraging. I've been a like pretty optimistic about Haskins over the past couple of weeks, but that Panthers game, I didn't see it live, but I went back and watched it obviously when I could, and it was not good.
No, he reminded me a lot of what I saw when he played for Washington.
Yeah.
The footwork was kind of shot. The accuracy all of a sudden was gone. You know, when you go from playing against 2s and 3s and now you're playing against the 1s, and that's what it reminded me of. And you know, bad game. I hope the arrow is still up for him, because if it is, that benefits him, but it also benefits us for sure. Ian, did you want to add anything on the quarterbacks?
I think you made a great point there that, you know, Haskins throughout the first 3 preseason games, we were all over Rudolph, but he was playing against first-team defenses, and Haskins was playing against 2s and 3s and looked pretty good. Yeah. And then when Haskins got his shot against the 1s, it was not very good. You know, when Haskins had to come back in later in the game and played against, you know, the third stringers again, he looked good again. It's like, okay, well, you know, there's a bit of a difference here in competition. But I mean, I agree with Jeff. I'm not real confident in either of these guys. I think there are things that Haskins can do that Rudolph can't do. He has more escapability. He's not wearing concrete shoes out there. He has more arm strength too. So when he can get out of the pocket, he does keep looking downfield. That being said, he's also going to make horrible throws like that one to Derek Watt that got intercepted that he just threw like completely behind him. You know, and those are the things that Rudolph isn't going to do. So, I mean, Rudolph, yes, is kind of captain checked out. He's going to take the safe throws all the time and not take risks, but he's also, not going to turn the ball over as much. So, it's like, sometimes you got to take the good with the bad sometimes with Haskins, but like in his career, there's been a lot more bad than good. If you look at his numbers, I think he has more interceptions than touchdowns. Whereas, Rudolph has more touchdowns than interceptions, but he's still like barely averaging 1 touchdown per game, which isn't going to cut it in the NFL.
No. And I guess the one positive, I think back to Rudy's last meaningful start, he played a pretty solid game against Cleveland in the season finale last year when they were resting Ben. And, that gives me a little bit of hope. But at the same time, I've seen enough of him as well to know what his limitations are, too. So, yeah, Ian.
I'll say this. I mean, I was saying a little bit, but I'll also say this, that if Rudolph has to play, Chase Claypool's going to have a feast, because Rudolph's best bet, honestly, is to just chuck the ball up in the air and hope his receiver comes down with it. And Claypool at 6'4", 250 pounds is just a bully down the field and can just body out defensive backs. So none of the other receivers are going to do anything, because Rudolph can't throw with timing or anticipation or read defenses. But like Claypool will be great.
So it sounds a little like the Joe Flacco, just chuck it deep and hope for interference. But in this case, hope that Claypool catches it.
Claypool catches it.
Pass interference roulette, I believe, is what we called that.
Exactly.
Have they named the backup yet? Is Rudolph the QB2 right now?
I believe, If I saw everything correct today, he's QB2, and then Haskins will be 3. And
I don't think they officially have, because I mean they don't have to release a depth chart until Tuesday of the week before the game,
right?
And then you never know who gets a helmet on Sunday too. I'm assuming only one. Because last year they only had 2 quarterbacks get helmets. I don't think they gave a third quarterback a helmet last year. So
did speaking of that, with Dobbs being on IR, Ian, you might know this. Can he be on the sidelines during the games?
Ooh, he might be able. I'm not sure about that. I mean, I think he might be able to be.
Well, and I asked because we all have talked, endlessly about how Ben likes talking to him. Mm-hmm. He's the guy he usually goes to. He doesn't go to Mason. He didn't go to Randy last year. He usually went to Dobbs. And quarterbacks are funny creatures. They get into habits and they know who they like and they don't like. And I would just be curious. I don't know if he'll be accessible or not.
Yeah, and I don't know if he could even sit up in the box with the coaches, because I think doesn't Canada want to coach from the box?
He is. He's coaching from upstairs.
Oh, he is. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep. They as of 2 weeks ago, he was. That was the plan. And I'm not. So best I can tell. Jeff, how concerned are you about Stephon Tuitt? I don't know if many fans understand this, but not only has he not played in any of the preseason games, he hasn't practiced. No. He has not practiced. And, there's some sentiment that much of this is because of the tragic and sudden passing of his brother in a hit-and-run accident, which I think was in July. And he's been struggling. And far be it from me or anybody else to tell him he should or shouldn't and how to handle it. That's up to him. But I'm concerned. How about you?
No, I'm definitely concerned. And if it's about his brother, then – like you said, no one should tell him when to get back on the field. He should come back on his own terms, and he should handle it the way he wants to handle it, because everyone handles stuff like that differently. Yep. But if it's actually his knee, I'm definitely concerned about it, because not practicing at all, not playing in any games. I mean, he's not going to be ready for week 1.
No,
he's going to be very rusty if he's out there for week 1, and it's going to take him some time to get it back, especially after not having a training camp, not having anything. But I'm definitely concerned about it. I'm always keeping up to date with it. I'm always looking up, if he's back on the field in practice, if he's maybe going to play in the next preseason game, and there's just nothing. He's just not there. And him going on the IR possibly in the beginning of the season, it's definitely a concerning situation. I'm worried about it.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. Ian, has he had back-to-back good productive seasons? It seems to me that he's always been roller coaster type.
Yeah, I mean, with Tuitt, it's always been, when he's out there, he's been dominant, but it's just
right.
when he's out there, it's kind of been the question. Last year he played in 15 games. The year before that, he only played in 6 because he had that season-ending injury.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't. His rookie year was the only year he played in all 16 games. Other than that, last year at 15 was the most. A couple 14s.
Okay.
But let's not forget too. One of the things that I do track, since you mentioned I track some stats, is guys with double-digit sacks every year.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about that as kind of the barometer for an elite pass rusher, because even over time, from the mid-90s to now, it's been pretty steady on the number of guys that get 10-plus sacks a year, more or less falling in that like 15 to 20 range. So those are your elite pass rushers. Last year, I think there was only 10 or 12 guys that got double-digit sacks, and Tuitt was one of them. I mean, we had 2 of them on the Steelers. So, that especially for an interior defensive lineman,
incredible
not
season.
named Aaron Donald, it was an incredible season. Yeah. Last year was a great season. I really hope for him he's able to get back soon. But I agree with everything Jeff said. And my only other comment is that I really wish that the NFL would adopt what the NHL does, and when you put a player on IR, that you get salary cap relief for the time they're on IR, so that enables you to sign more players to replace them, so that when a high-priced player goes on IR, you have more cap space and more flexibility while they're off. But unfortunately, the NFL is very strict on their IR rules, and still, if you lose your highest priced player, you're pretty much screwed. Whereas the NHL gives you a little more flexibility. So that always comes up as if you could change one thing about your favorite sport, I'm like, yes, I would change the IR rules so they don't count against the salary cap.
I agree with that, definitely.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, and I guess I would have to look into it more, but it seems to me that it works pretty darn well for the NHL. I would have to look into it more. Before we go too much further here, we probably should address a couple of very, very important issues here. First of all, JuJu Smith-Schuster has been taking a lot of fire because he apparently attempted the milk crate challenge, guys. If the listeners and viewers are not aware of what this is, basically you take your good old-fashioned milk crates and you stack them and they make a pyramid, and your job is to walk to the top and then walk back down without falling. And I think, if I heard this correctly, TikTok actually has banned the videos now because they've gotten so out of hand, so many people injured, everything else. Well, lo and behold, JuJu is videotaped, I guess, doing it. We only see him come down the last 2 or 3 steps, and there's 2 guys around him, and oh God, people lost their minds over this. Jeff, you're a young man. You understand this stuff better than us old guys. What in the world? Should we really be concerned about this, or is this just more stuff people are getting upset about and they shouldn't?
I think people were overreacting a little bit. Definitely. I saw some people that were losing their minds, especially with how active I am on Instagram, with all this Steelers stuff. I mean, people were going nuts. And I was all right, I'm not happy about it either, but let's relax. I mean, it definitely wasn't. It did not need the reaction that it got, but I didn't like it. I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, dude, we got a season soon. What are you doing?
I'm right with you.
I've seen so many people, because I'm on TikTok too. I go through TikTok every now and then. I've seen so many people fall and break their ankles doing this stuff. They just they're on top and then they're wiggling and then they're down.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that I didn't see him up at the top, because if I did, I would have had a heart attack. But he was coming down, and when he came down, I just kind of had to get a little sigh of relief. But people overreacted a little bit, but I definitely didn't like seeing it. I don't think.
No, I totally with you. I don't like that he was doing it. Now, I will say this: there was a rumor that came out a little while ago that kind of was something that you just pointed out. It's why didn't they start taking the video when he was doing the whole thing, or when he was at the top? I mean, it is JuJu. Why wouldn't you record the whole thing? Mm-hmm. So there's this conspiracy out there that he is actually just trolling everybody. He got up there. They helped him up. He was on the second or third to last one, then came down. It would be hilarious if he was actually doing that. I don't like it still, but yeah. Ian, will you be trying this challenge anytime soon?
No, I am 6'3" and have terrible balance, so no, not at all.
I feel that
not conducive to a tall person attempting it with a poor center of gravity. You need, like, I'm a big American Ninja Warrior fan, and like the people that do really well at that are the people that are like 5'7", and are just like made of muscle. That have a low center of gravity and can just move their bodies in ways that like I could never hope to do because I'm just long-limbed and it just is what it is, So it's no, I'm not trying it.
Now the other piece of very, very important news was that Minkah Fitzpatrick and Chase Claypool got into it at practice. And real quick, I do want to give a shout out. I was on the 4-Man Rush podcast right before we started ours tonight. Great guys out of Carolina. They're big Panthers fans. We were talking about last week's last preseason game, and they asked me about this. What's going on? Why are Claypool and Minkah fighting? And I'll say the same thing I told them. Minkah Fitzpatrick is tired of hitting people from his own team. He's tired of practicing against his own team. He's ready to play against other people. And Claypool probably did something or said something to get under his skin. It fired him up. Most Steelers said, I've never seen Minkah so mad. I think that's what this was. And Ian, should we read more into it than that?
No. I mean, I always kind of go back to, I'm a Duke basketball fan, which I know Ben trolls me over a lot.
Yeah, but, rightfully so.
And a lot of other people do. But it is what it is. But, there's an old clip of Coach K saying, like, look, emotion is not bad. It's how you channel that emotion. Like, he's like, it's okay to be angry. Just take it out the right way. Take it out by performing well. Channel it into your performance. But you're right. You're absolutely right. After a month and a half of training camp and hitting your own guys, and Minkah played like a handful of snaps in the preseason game.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he might have played a little into the second quarter in that Lions
Detroit
game.
Yeah.
There's only a couple drives, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, you're absolutely right. He as a safety whose job is to literally go out and hit people, he wants to go out and hit people that are his own teammates, and he's probably getting tired of like basically being held back, right? Because he's arguably their best or second best defensive player on the team, so they want to preserve him in the preseason, so they've been holding him back, and he wants the reins taken off and he wants to go. He's a competitor. So I'm when I see preseason fights, I'm like, oh, okay, guys are showing emotion. That's good. They're bought into it. They're invested. Yeah. It's not like they're just going through the motion. So it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want an all-out brawl like the Giants had.
No.
But a couple guys, Isaiah Loudermilk or Cam Hayward and, Dan Moore getting into it doesn't bother me at all.
No.
I mean, Cam Hayward got into it with all the veterans when he started here, and now the young guys are getting into it with him. So it's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah, I agree. Jeff, you kind of fall in the same category there. Not a big deal.
Definitely. No, I don't think it's a big deal at all. I think if it got more physical, maybe it would be a bigger deal. But I definitely don't see it as any kind of issue, because it is, I can understand as an athlete feeling emotional like that.
Sure.
It comes out of you sometimes. And I don't know what Claypool did, because Minkah has always been a very mild-mannered guy. He doesn't really freak out a lot. And to see him apparently we didn't see it obviously, but to see him apparently freak out.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I like that more for Claypool, honestly, because I mean Claypool's really getting after it, it seems like. But no, it definitely didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, no, good. Me either.
The one other thing I'll add too is that the really good Steelers teams in the past have always talked about kind of like the brotherhood they had in the locker room, right?
Yeah.
And as a father of many boys, I will tell you that boys will fight with each other, and it just is what it is. And but as soon as someone from outside the family goes after one of them, they're all together against them.
Yeah.
That is so true.
It's like, you will fight with your brother tooth and nail, but as soon as someone attacks your family, it's everyone against that.
Absolutely.
You're there for your family. So some of it is that brotherhood of I can fight with my brother because I love him and I trust him, but if anyone goes after him, that guy's going to lose his head.
The one thing, though, I did think it was a little weird. It was actually kind of funny to me when Tomlin was asked about it in the press conference. He just completely – I don't know if you guys saw it, but he just completely shut the reporter up. They were like he's like, oh, well, what altercation are you talking about? I was like, oh, the one in the end zone. He's like, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. I thought that was kind of funny. I thought it was a little weird that Tomlin didn't even acknowledge it, but I didn't think anything of it.
I think that's when Tomlin gets that little Belichick to him where it's like, I'm not going to even go there. So I'm just going to, that'd be my guess. He just didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Last thing before we go tonight, guys, my panic button is definitely, my hand is over it now. With TJ Watt. I really thought this was going to be done over the last 4 or 5 days. Now, that doesn't mean we won't wake up tomorrow and know that it's done, or even in a couple of days. Ian, where are you on a similar panic meter here with the season now, roughly 11, 12 days away?
Yeah, I'll say if you ask me this question in a week, like after Labor Day, I'll be a lot more ready to panic, but I'm not quite ready to panic yet. Because the other thing, let's not forget, is that during the off season with the salary cap, you have the rule of 51. So only the top 51 salaries count against the cap. Once today hits, now your 53 salaries count against the cap. So, they have plenty of cap room. They have a ton of it. They have like $12 million. But and Watt counts for $10 million. So if you take that $10 million, they essentially have $22 million in cap space that they can play with to get something done with him. So with some of the financials, some of the guaranteed money, how much upfront money is it? What's it going to be for this year versus future years? I'll say I'm not quite ready to panic just yet, just because maybe they wanted to see where they were from a cap standpoint, and also try and see, where they need to bring some veterans in, like offensive tackle and cornerback, and then how much money they have left to kind of finalize something with Watt. So I would say if you ask me in a week and it's not done, I'll be about ready to panic. But right now, on August 31st, I'm not quite ready to panic just yet.
Not quite ready. Okay, so Jeff, I'll ask you kind of the same thing. And then just kind of maybe throw in with it, how confident would you be if he's not there in Buffalo?
Oof. I'm kind of in the same boat as Ian a little bit. I'm not quite ready to panic, but I definitely thought it was going to be done by now. I didn't think going into September we wouldn't have a TJ Watt extension. I thought it would be done. So
same.
My hand it's over the panic button. It's not quite ready to hit it yet, but I think you said it pretty well. In about a week, if we're getting like 4 or 5 days away from the game, I'll be pretty much ready to panic. So I'm almost there, but not quite yet. And I don't know how I would feel if he wasn't there in Buffalo. I would feel much less confident, because when you got someone like Josh Allen, you gotta get pressure on him. You need TJ Watt in Buffalo. He is almost a must, because it's tough to go against an elite quarterback with no pass rush. And Highsmith will be there and Melvin Ingram will be there, but I would feel a lot less confident without TJ Watt there. I think they have to get this done. They have to get this done before week 1. There's no way they can roll into the season and not have him extended. They have to.
Right. No, I'm with you. They had him last year against Buffalo and struggled, so how bad will it be if he's not there, so to speak? So
that was after the Dupree injury too, though.
It was
was it the week after or 2 weeks? It was pretty close.
No more than 2 weeks.
I think it was only a game or two after.
He went down against Baltimore, right?
No, against Washington.
Okay. All right. Washington. Okay.
All
right.
That was that weird, like we had to play on a Wednesday, then a Monday.
Yes. Yes. God. Oh,
yeah. Oh my God. I don't even want to think about it.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah. So one other thing I'll mention about TJ Watt too, though, is that with his rookie contract was essentially $9 million in change, right? That he's slated to make $10 million this year. So he's essentially going to double his career earnings this year with, by playing. And I said this last week that he's not Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell had made $16 million already in his career. He made $12 million the year previous to his holdout where he, sat out. So, Le'Veon Bell had some money in the bank. I mean, TJ Watt's got some money in the bank, probably $9 million in career earnings. But at the same time, like sitting out a year where you can make $10 million and double your career earnings is, pretty important. And if you sit out, you risk not making that versus if you show up. I mean, I realize that the long game here is to get the $150 million contract that, become the highest paid defensive player in the league. And honestly, he deserves it. Like
he does,
he does.
Absolutely.
It's, but at the same time, in the short term, like there's the benefit to him missing games does not outweigh the opportunity either. But I think I'm hopeful. I agree with Jeff. It's imperative. They need to get it done before the season starts.
Yeah.
I don't know if is he really the kind of guy to sit out though? I don't know if I'm really too worried about him not being in Buffalo. You think he would hold out if they didn't get it done?
I don't, for the reasons that Ian just kind of pointed out. He'll play the year. But man, when you should be the highest paid defensive player, and you got your agent in your ear, and I'm not sure who he's repped by. It can wear on you, and it can make a little difference. But no, I personally, I see it the same way. I don't think he would do that, but let's just hope it doesn't get there. For sure. Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for joining me tonight. And that's going to do it for this week. And we'll be back next week, of course, with a big season preview with all kinds of wonderful predictions, prognostications, and all kinds of other wonderful things. But for now, this is Steel Dad signing off on the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated. And hey, go Steelers!
Since Ben isn't here, I'll take the bait. Ravens suck.
There we go. All right.